Brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Coach Zulaiha Yusuf. In this series, I'm going to be serializing some points from my books. Like I mentioned in our previous series, I have 3 books and my writing niche is on relationships. The one we are going to be discussing today is titled Coping Mechanisms in a Difficult Marriage. So part of the coping mechanisms in difficult marriage that we analyze here are 20 different coping methods for those that are in difficult marriage. I'll give a little background to the book. So back in 2020, I had a class with some single sisters on how to identify red flags in relationship before marriage. And what came out of the class was the fact that some women who were already in marriages where they were having trouble, disclosed the fact that yes, they saw all these red flags before marriage. They went ahead with the marriage because there was no proper premarital counseling at the time, and they are having so many difficulties now that they are finding difficult to cope with, and they do not want divorce. As we all know, divorce is the only permissible thing, or is the permissible thing that Allah hates the most. So it's not pleasurable for anyone. Divorce is difficult for the couples, for their families, for the children involved. And so it's a very hard decision to make. Staying married is hard, being divorced is harder. So I came up with the coping methods for those in difficult marriages, ways to cope. But the caveat I'll put here is that these are for marriages where there is no violence, there is no abuse that can impinge on somebody's mental health, and there is no threat to life. We're talking about compatibility issues and other problems that come up in marriage that make the environment very difficult to live in. So how do we navigate about this? I outline here 20 coping methods. The first one, I'll mention them serially, and then in subsequent series we will discuss them one by one. I mentioned the issue of intention, your marital intention. The second chapter is on letting go of all bitterness and pain and resentment of the past. The third one is taking responsibility for your own happiness. The fourth is to find your life purpose and pursue it so much so that your marital conflicts will begin to decline. Again, we talk about acquiring knowledge, because that's the key to success in any area of life. If you want to succeed either in work or in your marriage, you need to acquire knowledge on how to navigate it seamlessly. We also talk about reading, which is still part of acquiring knowledge, reading and writing, to journal all the things you go through and to find solutions to them by yourself, because the truth is, for every challenge we face in life, the solutions are there if only we reflect deep. Introspection matters a lot in dealing with marital issues, to look at what is your own contribution to these problems that you're having. The ninth, we talk about positive self-talk. Most of us, we are defeated by the attitude that we have towards ourselves. There's no self-love, and so because we have already brought ourselves down in our mind, it affects the way we show up in our marital relationships. Again, and very importantly, the number 10 is to adopt an attitude for gratitude in life. Attitude for gratitude by being grateful for everything major and minor in your life, and to show Allah that you are a servant that recognizes all His favors upon you. When you do this, you begin to see that those problems in your marriage that you think that are unresolvable are actually minute compared to other people's challenges, and there are things that you can find a way around. Another very important for both spouses in any troubled marriage is to master their emotions, because sometimes the decisions we take, our actions and inactions in marriage are dictated by our emotions. And we know that emotions are usually sometimes not factual, they are just feelings. They need to be managed, and it is the lack of emotional intelligence that has led to a lot of the marital conflict that we see nowadays. Number 12 is to live and let live. To live and let live, meaning that in any marriage we should not cage each other, we should make space for each other to grow and to thrive. In some marital relationships, the causal effect of their marital conflict is the fact that one partner feels the need to control, to cage, to inhibit the other from self-growth. And when somebody doesn't feel fulfilled that he's achieving something in his or her life, it can affect the way the person reacts in marriage. Number 13 is boundaries. Boundaries, very important. Psychologists say that anybody that is not able to maintain boundaries in his space around every aspect of his life is bound to have problems. Imagine not being able to say no when you should say no. You always run into problems. or debt or things like that. Number 14 is to stop enabling and to change the narrative, because some of the things our spouses does that is problematic is because we are enabling them or we have refused to change the narrative. It is what we are doing that is making our spouses to react the way they are. Number 15 is self-care. 16 is to have a very good support system. No man is an island. So when you're having trouble, if you keep your problems to yourselves, you will not solve them. But they say a problem half shared is a problem half solved. So part of it is to have a good support system within your faith circle, within your family circle, and within your friendship circle too. Another one is financial freedom. For both men and women, gone are the days where the wife can sit at home and the husband is the major provider or breadwinner. Even though it's his duty, it is also important for both spouses to have financial freedom. And we know that Islam does not curtail anybody's right, male or female, from having earning power. 18 is charity. Sometimes we are so clouded by our marital problems that we do not realize that we need to give back to society. When you are useful and beneficial to humanity by giving your talent, your time, your whatever gifts that Allah has bestowed you with, or your wealth, putting smile on other people's faces will in turn bring happiness to your own heart. And this is a way to overcome our marital challenges. Number 19 is spending quality time with your children. No matter the outcome of a marital conflict, or no matter what is going on between the spouses, the children must never be made to suffer. They were not there when you both met and got married, so your marital conflict should not in any way affect their development. Unfortunately, we see that this is what usually happens. This is the case in most broken homes, that the problems of the parents, of the husbands and wife, translate into a bad life for the children, which should not be so. Then there is also the option of temporary separation. And number 20, last but not the least, is divorce, where there is no other way. When every other means to reconcile has been gone through, and there is no way to have amicable resolution, then we resort to what Allah allows, which is divorce. For some people, it's a matter of life and death. So we are not saying that divorce is totally condemnable. We are only saying it should be the last option. We pray that our marriages are sources of us to get into paradise and not a source of us going into hellfire. Both men and women, we have to be mindful of the way we treat our marriage, the way we show up in our marriages. It can be your source of damnation in the hereafter. It can be a source of a very sad life for you if you don't do it right. So you have to renew your marital intention if you are having problems in marriage, and to rededicate your marriage to be service to Allah. And I pray that it turns out well for every single person that is in marriage or that is hoping to get married. So I'm going to stop here and we'll continue with the next coping mechanisms in subsequent edition. With this I say, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.